The council chamber of the Varelian triumvirate hung in a perfect stasis of sterile light and tense silence. Above them, translucent glyphs hovered mid-air, displaying high-resolution thermal and bioactivity scans of Class 0-173, codenamed Grave Terror. A Deathworld by all metrics. The atmosphere alone should have liquefied mammalian lungs in under 5 minutes. Councillor Rivatak flicked a frilled appendage, zooming in on the anomaly. "Impossible," he hissed. "Their epidermis should have ruptured instantly." One unit made. "Fire," said Councillor Keltan, eyes blinking in staggered triplets. "Primitive heat manipulation, yes, but the structures they've erected barracks." A murmur of disbelief echoed through the chamber. In the holodisplay, 12 humans huddled in makeshift gear crafted from native materials. Radiation levels were lethal. The planet birthed storms with ion charges so dense they distorted sensor arrays. And yet, one human was smiling. The alien feed shifted to a soldier etching something onto a metal plate with the tip of a melted knife. Rivatak leaned forward. "Magnify, translate." The image flickered, then clarified. The human had carved, "If you're watching, run." A silent alarm flared. "They found the observation probe," barked an enforcer drone. "Repositioning. Wait. No, they didn't just find it. They're dismantling it, rewiring." The council erupted. "Primitive beings don't reprogram Varelian tech." Back on the planet, Commander Sora Hale clicked off her comms, watching the charred hull of the recon drone spark under Specialist Kwame's plasma weld. "How long till it reroutes the feedback?" 30 seconds, Kwame said. "Then they'll know we know." "Good," Sora whispered. She turned to the others. "Positions, eyes up. We burn this in quiet." A hush fell over the team. One soldier knelt, opening a handheld device. Inside, a countdown began. 9, 8. Sora reached into her jacket, pulling out a standard-issue emblem, Earth's shattered blue sigil, scorched along the edges. She stared at it. "This place kills gods," she murmured. "Let's teach them what ghosts can do." Here's 2, 1. The orbital feeds above the Deathworld spiked with electromagnetic distortion. Static, then blackout. In the Varelian chamber, panic replaced. In confidence, Rivatak shouted, "They shut us out!" Full blackout across all probes. "Initiate emergency recall." But it was too late. A second screen blinked online, not theirs. Human eyes stared into the alien council's chamber. "To the ones who threw us into hell," Sora's voice said over the intercom, flat and cold. "We don't die easy. And we don't forgive." Signal lost. The council chamber descended into screaming static. A sky of ash rolled over the horizon, thick with ion-charged clouds that flashed violet and green. The wind screamed across the glass-shard plains of Grave Terror, tearing at rock and steel. Beneath a camouflaged cliffside outcrop, the humans moved with purpose. "EMP net holding?" Sora asked, stepping into the dug-in command hollow carved from volcanic slag. Kwame adjusted his goggles, sweat freezing instantly in the sub-zero pressure. "Rewired their probe core. It's broadcasting ghost echoes on all known Varelian surveillance bands. As far as they know, we're dead." Private Lin dropped a coil of filament wire beside a crate of harvested alien alloys. "Except we're building a goddamn arsenal from their trash." Sora nodded. "They threw us in to die. We'll make sure we leave something they'll remember." A low tone pulsed in the corner. Sergeant Diaz tapped a cracked screen. "Motion. East Ridge. Not local." They froze. Outside, the wind split with unnatural precision. Then it stopped. Everyone in the chamber shared the same breath of terror. Grave terror didn't stop. Diaz loaded a projectile, crafted from scavenged hull plating, into a rail sled. "Contact in 2 minutes. Looks like Varelian retrieval. Craft. They came to collect remains." Sora's eyes narrowed. "Let's give them something unexpected." 2 minutes later, a sleek obsidian pod hissed through the clouds, landing with a hiss of gravitic pressure. 3 elongated Varelians stepped out, unarmed, regal, curious. Their translator drones buzzed to life. Samples, corpse recovery. No hostilities. From the cliff, the humans watched in silence. "Show them what we learned," Sora whispered. A flicker of light shimmered on the ridge. Then, impact. The Varelian craft exploded into jagged flame as the rail round punched through. Its core reactor. One of the aliens disintegrated instantly. The other 2 staggered, blinded. The humans didn't fire again. Instead, they descended slow and deliberate, weapons drawn, but silent. Sora approached the surviving alien, blood streaming from its eye slits. She knelt beside it. "They didn't send you to save us," she said. "They sent you to verify the kill." The Varelian trembled. "We did not expect your adaptation." Sora reached into her pouch and pulled out a piece of charred paper, a fragment of a child's drawing. Earth smiling. "You expected corpses. You'll get ghosts." Behind her, Diaz raised his weapon. "No," Sora said. She stared into the alien's eyes. "Tell them what you saw. Let them know the silence they hear from grave terror is us watching." The alien collapsed to its knees. Its communicator blinked red, logging every word, every image. The humans vanished back into the storm, leaving only wreckage and one terrified messenger. Lightning cracked sideways across the sky, painting the shattered landscape in ghost light. Far above, Varelian command vessels floated in trembling formation just outside the electromagnetic storm front. Inside the lead cruiser, Draxenthel, High Strategist Molzur, watched the replay from the ground. Again and again. The rail round, the fire, the way the humans walked, calm, cold, untouched by the chaos they unleashed. "This is not survival," Molzur hissed. "This is retaliation." "No," murmured his second. "This is dominion. They are claiming the Deathworld." The chamber fell silent. A technician pulsed nervously. "Orders, strategist?" Molzur turned toward the central command spire. "Deploy Apex units, full containment. No comms, no witnesses. I want the illusion of control re-established within 1 rotation." Back on the surface, in the scorched basin of hollow crater, Sora and her team prepared for the next wave. Kwame handed her a salvaged Varelian comm node, now blinking with stolen protocols. "They're coming bigger this time, and faster." Diaz examined the ridge through thermal optics. "Dropships incoming, not scouts. Combat frames." Sora didn't flinch. "Then we use the bluff." Lin pulled a tarp off a metal ring wired with glowing coils. "EMP crowns ready. 1 pulse and their entire landing grid goes blind." "No," Sora said. "We save that for the second wave. Let them think we're fragile. Let them land." She stood and keyed into the open frequency they'd stolen from the probe. "Molzur," she said softly, "we're still here." The alien bridge reacted like a ruptured lung. Dozens of voices chittered in disbelief. "She knows my name." Molzur took a step back from the screen. Sora continued. "Your people sent us here to die, so now we've made this place ours. Step onto this soil again, and we'll bury you under it." The signal cut. In the crater, the humans vanished underground. The first Varelian transport landed 2 minutes later. The ramp dropped, and the entire basin detonated. Dust, fire. Nothing left but molten glass and ash spiraling into the storm. High above, the Varelian command fleet pulled back, confused and shaken, but not in retreat. Yet Molzur whispered to himself, "What are they becoming?" Far below, buried deep in the rock, Sora listened to the thump of distant explosions. She didn't smile. "Not this time." "We're what happens," she whispered, "when you teach the prey to bite back." Beneath the fused surface of hollow crater, darkness pulsed with energy. The humans had retreated into a forgotten tunnel system, naturally formed by tectonic shears, then expanded with precision. Kwame stood beside a humming core node, sweat on his brow despite the cold. Power reserves at 43%. If they come again, we can't fake another explosion like that. Sora sat against the wall, holding a cracked data slate. We won't need to. That strike wasn't to win. It was to draw them deeper, into our rules. Diazy limped in, blood crusted on his shoulder. One of the scout frames survived the blast. It's out there, crawling, recording. Let it, she said. In orbit, strategist Molzur reviewed the survivor footage. The humans' faces, dirty and defiant, burned into his mind. Behind them, glowing glyphs of unknown design flickered on the walls. He froze the frame. These aren't native markings, he said. Zoom, rotate. Engineers obeyed. On screen, human-crafted code. A reworking of Varelian quantum glyphs. Modified, improved. Molzur backed away. They're advancing. A junior officer gulped. Permission. To engage atmospheric purge? No, Molzur said. They want that. No fire, no saturation. We send in the mind folders. Gasps rippled. Psychic incursion, someone whispered. But the human mind is undisciplined, chaotic, primitive, easy prey. Molzur's voice lacked conviction. Down on Grave Terror, the air grew suddenly, silent. No wind, no static, nothing. Lin bolted upright. Anyone else feel that? A pulse radiated outward, soundless, invisible. Then they heard it. Whispers. Sora staggered, hands clamped over her ears. The walls pulsed like lungs. Screams, memories poured into their minds. Earth burning, families lost. Regrets, grief. Psychic wave, Kwame shouted. They're attacking neurologically, Diaz screamed, his rifle clattering to the floor. My brother, he's here, I hear him. Sora crawled to the glyph wall, slamming her fist against a carved sigil. Override. Ah, she whispered. The code lit red. The psychic storm paused, then snapped back at the source. In orbit, the mind folders convulsed, shrieking, their neural cores shattered from feedback. Blood sprayed across the command deck. Molzur stared in horror. They reflected us. No, a technician muttered. They absorbed us. On the ground, Sora collapsed, gasping. Her eyes glowed faint red before fading. Lin knelt beside her, terrified. Commander, are you okay? Sora looked up slowly. I saw their minds, she said, and they saw mine. She smiled now. They're afraid. Night returned to Grave Terror like a beast breathing over the land, slow, thick, and alive with charged tension. The skies flickered with alien auroras. Electromagnetic ghosts danced across the stars. Inside the tunnel network, the humans worked. In near silence, Kwame was bent over a salvaged Varelian neural core, nerves raw. What she did, that wasn't just feedback, that was synchronization. She synced with a psychic weapon, Lin said. That should have killed her. She's not dead, Diaz said, checking his rifle. She's just changed. Sora stood alone at the far end of the corridor. Her silhouette was still, but something in the way the shadows bent around her had shifted. Her breathing was slower, measured, and her voice, when it came, was deeper, as if echoing through metal. They sent voices to break us, she said. Instead, they gave us the truth. She raised a hand. On the wall behind her, a new symbol. Burned, drawn with her blood and not of human origin. Kwame paled. What the hell is that? A key, she said, to their language, their tech, their fears. The team looked at one another, realization dawning like dread. You're saying we can use it? Lin asked. I'm saying we can speak their code now. In orbit, Molzur issued his final protocol. Deploy planetary suppressor, end this, burn the tunnels, collapse the crust if needed. The weapon, a kilometer-wide construct resembling a floating iron flower, unfurled its petals in low orbit. Inside, dark matter pulses began to spin. Once activated, it would flatten the terrain, liquefy all biomass, and sterilize the region for centuries. Down below, the signal spike triggered every warning at once. Kwame's eyes widened. They're going to cook the entire crust. We've got less than 6 minutes. Sora didn't flinch. They're trying to erase their mistake. She turned to Lin. Ready the worm! The team stiffened. The worm was a contingency, a last resort code injection, written during the first weeks of madness. It wasn't just a virus. It was designed to reprogram Varelian logic structures from within. Lin hesitated. It could backfire, lock us out, kill every circuit on the planet. Sora looked up, face lit by the rotating death spiral above them. They brought us here to disappear. Let's rewrite the end. She stepped forward, inserted the spike, and activated the worm. Time slowed. Above, the suppressor's petals froze mid-rotation, then reversed, then twisted inward. In the Varelian fleet, ships lost power. Lights dimmed. Gravity distorted. AI cores screamed. The flower in orbit folded into itself and collapsed, imploding into a micro-singularity before vanishing with a thunderless blink. Molzur stared into the void where his final weapon had been. No, he whispered. On the planet, Sora fell to her knees, exhausted, bleeding from her nose. Lin caught her. Kwame checked the sensors. Fleet is pulling back. They're running. Sora's breath was shallow. They wanted to wipe us out. But now, they're afraid we'll follow them back. And for the first time, the humans knew. They weren't just surviving, they were winning. The wind returned to grave terror, like breath after a long-held scream. Wild, chaotic, tasting of ozone and victory. But in the silence beneath the storm, within the carved depths of the earthborn tunnels, no one celebrated. Not yet. Diaz sat sharpening his blade with rhythmic focus. Lin moved with cautious reverence around Sora's still form, hooking her up to improvised stabilizers. She's burning hot, Lin whispered. Brain activity's peaking in waves. She's dreaming in their language. Kwame was already tapping into the rerouted neural mesh. It's not just dreams. The worm didn't just rewrite their tech, it bridged something. She's still linked to them, Diaz growled. Then cut the link. Kwame glanced at him, eyes sunken and wide. If we cut it, we might lose the code, all of it, including the command route. Diaz's hands clenched. Or we lose her. Above them, satellites began to blink, faint at first, then sharper. The humans had repurposed the Varelian orbital grid. It now fed directly into their tunnel base, lighting up a single holographic projection across the chamber, a map of the local system, and a blinking Varelian capital beacon. Kwame stared. It's not just this world. We're tapped into their whole empire now. Lin leaned close. They'll purge it all. Every node, every protocol. They'll erase themselves just to keep us from having it. Diaz stood, eyes hard. Then, we go first. He moved to the console, typed a command into the blinking interface. A low hum began. A signal, subtle but planetary, began to pulse outward from their base. What is that? Lin asked. Bait, Diaz replied. Kwame turned. To him, stunned. You're telling them we're coming? No, Diaz said. I'm telling them we're done hiding. Sora stirred. Her lips moved faintly, then stronger. No more silence. Kwame turned back to the console. They'll strike again, harder, not with soldiers, with extinction. Sora sat up, slow and shaking. Then we show them extinction isn't a threat to us, she rasped. It's home. They began encrypting the stolen Varelian root keys into Earth-coded systems. Across the planet, the network lit up. Beacons activated in human-coded pulses. It wasn't sabotage. It was a message. We're here, and they understood now. This wasn't the end of a failed exile. It was the beginning of something else. Grave terror had not broken them. It had remade them. the Varelians launch a desperate retaliatory strike using a forbidden bioweapon. Humanity survives through raw adaptation and hard choices. A devastating sacrifice shakes the team and marks the moment the war turns personal. The sky wept acid. Green rain hissed as it struck the ground, vaporizing stone and metal alike. From orbit, the Varelian admirals watched the surface dissolve in caustic sheets, deploying a banned biological terraformer known only as Red Halo. Target eradicated, a voice reported. Grave terror is no longer viable for life. Silence followed until the static cleared and a human voice cut through on their own encrypted band. "Cute trick," Sora rasped, voice trembling but defiant. Didn't work. The Admiral's blood chilled. Underground, the humans were barely alive. The tunnels groaned. Filtration systems failed. Kwame was down, lungs torn from one brief exposure during the seal breach. Diaz knelt beside him, sealing. A cracked helmet with fusion glue. "He's not gonna make it unless we move him now." Sora, coughing blood into her mask, pointed to the deep shaft. "We've got one chamber left, sealed during Phase 1. Manual lock." Lynn's eyes widened. "That's where the Ark node is?" The Ark node, an emergency backup containing Earth's last DNA banks, AI culture cores, and encrypted historical memory. It was meant for future generations. It wasn't supposed to be opened yet, but today wasn't part of the plan. Sora leaned over Kwame, tears mixing with rain burn. "You hold the codes. You're the only one who can activate it." Kwame's fingers trembled as he reached into his suit. "Can't let them win," he whispered. "Tell my sister. Earth still burns." "In me," he handed Sora a chip. "Make it matter." Then he went still, no alarms, no drama, just silence. Diaz's hands closed into fists. Sora stood. She turned to Lynn. "Seal the lab. Burn the secondary tunnels. We're consolidating." Lynn hesitated. "That means we can't retreat." "We weren't retreating," Sora said. "We're bait now." Above, Varelian ships moved closer to the atmosphere, detecting faint movement again. The commander snarled. They should be dead, but as their scans deepened, a new structure registered beneath the storm-torn surface. Not alien, human, worse, alive, broadcasting. And not just broadcasting survival, broadcasting coordinates. "Admiral," one technician whispered, "they're calling someone." "Who?" "Back underground." Sora inserted the chip. The Ark node opened with a pulse, not just light memory, images of Earth, its oceans, skies, languages, extinct species, and extinct wars, flashed through the dark, and then the signal went out. Not to the Varelians, but beyond them, to anyone, anything watching, a simple line embedded in ancient Earth code. "We are still here, and we are not alone." Sora stood in the glow of the Ark, eyes burning. "You killed one of us." She looked upward, toward the Varelian fleet. "Now we show you what that costs." The acid rain burned away, leaving the world slick and scarred beneath a bruised sky. Silence pressed heavy inside the tunnels, thick with the scent of ionized metal and loss. Kwame was gone, his sacrifice etched into every shudder of the base's failing systems. Sora's hands trembled as she wiped the last of his blood from the Ark node's interface. The chip glowed faintly, humming with encoded memory and purpose. Lynn monitored environmental controls, eyes darting between failing oxygen levels and incoming threat alerts. "They're sending reinforcements," Lynn whispered, voice low. "Not just combat frames, this time capital ships. They want to crush us once and for all." Diaz tightened his grip on his rifle, every muscle coiled like a spring. "Let them come. We're not running anymore." Sora rose, shadows clinging, to her like a second skin. Her gaze settled on the blinking holographic map, now alive with new coordinates, pulsing deep within uncharted space. "Kwame's sacrifice bought us time," she said. "But the war's just beginning." She keyed the comm unit. Lynn, prepare the uplink. Diaz, ready the perimeter defenses. We hold this ground or we die trying. Outside, the storm twisted. Above, distant warships broke through the ionosphere, massive engines roaring to life. Yet beneath that tempest, humanity's last refuge burned steady, a beacon of resilience in a galaxy that tried to forget them. Sora's voice was steady, cold fire in her eyes. They sent us here to die, but they forgot one thing. She glanced at the Ark's glowing core, then back to her team. We're not just survivors, we're the reckoning. The cold metal walls of the underground bunker thrummed with residual energy as the uplink beacon pulsed steadily, a defiant heartbeat in the vast darkness of grave terror. Outside, the distant thunder of Varelian warships grew louder, their ominous shadows stretching over the scarred landscape like vultures circling a fresh kill. Sora stood at the helm, her eyes scanning the flickering holographic map before her. New coordinates blinked in crimson, an invitation and a challenge broadcast across the stars. This signal isn't just a call for help, she said, voice hard as flint. It's a declaration. We're awake, we're organized, and we're coming. Lynn adjusted the comm arrays, sweat dripping from her brow despite the cool tunnel air. They won't know what hit them. Diaz loaded his weapon, fingers steady despite the weight of loss pressing on his chest. Let them come. We'll show them what humanity forged in the fires of exile. Outside, the first shadows of dawn clawed through the storm clouds. The humans braced for the coming storm, not just of weapons, but of wills. Sora's voice dropped to a whisper, resolute and unyielding. They sent us to die on a Deathworld. They forgot. We were born in chaos. And now, we're the nightmare they never imagined. The uplink flared, sending their message hurtling into the void. The reckoning had begun. The horizon burned with the eerie light of distant explosions, the sky a battlefield painted in strokes of fire and ash. Below, the human enclave stirred with grim determination, every breath a defiance against the suffocating odds. Sora's eyes narrowed as the incoming Varelian fleet loomed larger on the sensors, a sea of metal and death designed to extinguish humanity's last spark. But within the tunnels, something deeper kindled, a fusion of pain, hope, and fury that no alien weapon could snuff out. Lynn's fingers danced across the console, weaving intricate codes that bent alien tech to human. Will. Their shields falter, our signals disrupt their comms, the tide's turning. Diaz grunted, tightening his grip on the rifle. One way or another, they'll remember grave terror. Sora took a slow breath, voice steady as stone. They sent humans to die on a Deathworld. Instead, they forged a new legend, and this time the hunter becomes the hunted. The earth trembled beneath the coming storm as humanity rose, not as prey, but as the reckoning itself. The ground shook beneath their feet as the Varelian fleet descended, massive warships blotting out the stars. Energy beams lanced down, scorching the earth and lighting the sky in violent bursts. Inside the tunnels, alarms screamed, drowning out the pounding of human hearts. Sora stood steady, eyes blazing. Hold the line. Every second we buy is a second. Closer to their defeat, Lynn fired the hacked plasma turrets, the air thick with the acrid smell of ozone and burning circuits. Diaz moved through the chaos like a shadow, cutting down the enemy's vanguard with ruthless precision. Outside, the alien ships faltered as their systems fought against the worm's corrupting code, a virus reshaping their technology into a weapon. Against them, Molzur's voice crackled with rage across the comm frequency. They are not mere primitives. This is a declaration of war. Sora's reply was cold, unyielding. You sent us to die here. Now you will learn what it means to face humanity unleashed. The war for grave terror had become a war for the stars, and humanity was ready to claim its place among them. Air thickened with the metallic taste of blood and burning circuits as the battle surged into its fiercest hour. Tunnel walls vibrated under the thunder of explosions. Screams, human and alien, echoed in a grim symphony of survival. Sora's voice was a razor in the chaos. "Push forward. They think this ends with grave terror. It ends with us." Kwame's AI mesh flickered weakly from the deep bunkers, feeding live data to the command center. Enemy retreating, but reinforcements incoming, larger, deadlier. Lynn gritted her teeth. "We can't hold forever." Diaz fired his rifle in a steady rhythm, each shot a promise. "We don't have to. We just need to break them once, break their will." Outside, Virelian dread spread as corrupted ships lost systems, their elegant formations crumbling to disarray. Humanity wasn't just fighting to survive. They were fighting to take everything the galaxy ever denied them. And this Deathworld, it was their crucible, and their throne. The shattered sky bled fire as the last Virelian dreadnought collapsed, torn apart by cascading failures born from humanity's relentless assault. Silence fell, heavy and absolute, across the scorched remnants of grave terror. Inside the command cavern, Sora stood alone, her gaze fixed on the flickering holomap. The once invincible fleet lay in ruin, their empire broken beneath the boots of a species they'd cast aside. Lynn approached, voice soft but fierce. "We did it. They underestimated us." Sora's lips curled into a grim smile. "They sent humans to a Class 0 Deathworld to die. Instead, we became their nightmare." Diaz's steady hand clenched his rifle. "And now, what comes next?" She turned, eyes burning with unyielding fire. "Now, we remind the galaxy what happens when you write off humanity." The war was over. But the legend, that had only just begun.